Local auto shop owners say mechanics are becoming harder to come by as open positions stay vacant. One reason, training programs teaching auto mechanics aren't as common as they used to be.
There's a mechanic in Ohio with 30 years of experience making less per hour than he did in 1997. Not adjusted for inflation. The actual number on his paycheck shrank. And the thing that killed his career? It's probably sitting in your driveway right now. Back in 1965, your local mechanic wasn't just some guy with greasy hands. He was practically a celebrity on Main Street. I'm serious. A skilled mechanic in the 50s and 60s earned more than your kid's school teacher. More than the guy counting money at the bank. And unlike those jobs, he didn't need a fancy degree. What he needed was 4 to 7 years of apprenticeship under some grumpy old-timer who'd smack his hand every time he grabbed the wrong wrench. That kind of training built real expertise, the kind people respected. A good mechanic in those days? He could support a wife, 3 kids, buy a decent house, and still take the family to the beach every summer. On one income. Try doing that today without selling a kidney. Here's what really gets me, though. Shops ran on trust. You'd drop off your Chevy, shake the man's hand, and pay him after he fixed it. No deposit, no contract, just your word. By 1970, America had over 200,000 independent repair shops. That's roughly 1 for every 1,000 people. Your town had a car doctor the same way it had a regular doctor. People asked their mechanic's opinion before buying any new vehicle. But that golden era, it had an expiration date nobody saw coming. Cars from 1945 to 1975 were basically mechanical Legos. A Chevy carburetor? Almost identical to a Ford's. Swap parts between brands like you're trading baseball cards. Here's what blows people's minds today. A mechanic back then could fix 95% of problems with a socket set, a timing light, and a compression tester. That's it. 3 tools and some know-how. The real money wasn't even labor. It was parts markup. Shops charged 50 to 100% above wholesale, and nobody complained. Customers expected it. Fair deal. Everyone's happy. Now, transmission guys? They were the surgeons of the garage world. A mechanic who specialized in automatic transmissions in 1968 could charge the equivalent of $800 today for a rebuild. And people paid it gladly because the alternative was buying a new car. The rhythm was beautiful too. Average repair took 2 to 3 hours. Skilled mechanics knocked out 4 or 5 paying jobs daily. Do that math, and you're looking at a very comfortable living. But here's what really kept things interesting. Dealerships were terrified of independent shops. Why? Because your local guy offered identical quality at 40% lower prices. Detroit's own dealers couldn't compete with the mechanics they'd helped create. That cozy relationship between automakers and mechanics? It wasn't accidental. Here's the thing that made all of this possible. Detroit actually wanted you to fix their cars. I know, sounds crazy compared to today, but American automakers in the 50s and 60s designed vehicles with repair in mind. They understood something simple. If a car costs a fortune to maintain, people won't buy the next one. So they made engine bays enormous. I'm talking spacious enough that a grown man could practically climb inside and sit on the fender while changing spark plugs. Try that with a modern Honda Civic, and you'll need a chiropractor. Factory service manuals? Sold directly to any mechanic who wanted one. $20. That's it. Every torque specification, every wiring diagram, every procedure spelled out in plain English. No dealer-only secrets, no subscription fees, no locked software. And the parts. Oh, the parts were beautiful. A water pump in 1965 cost about $12. That's roughly $115 today. Installation time? 45 minutes for anyone who knew which end of a wrench to hold. Domestic manufacturing kept everything close and cheap. Supply chains were short. Warehouses were full. This created something economists love: a symbiotic relationship. A few months ago, I had no idea what a health ring even was until my fiancé got me one, and I have to say, I'm shocked this isn't a widely known and used product. It tracks my stress levels, and what I found out is that some supplements made my stress score spike, while others actually helped bring it down. I adjusted a few things based on that, and honestly, I feel 10 years younger. My wife mainly uses it to track her menstrual cycles, and she is obsessed with her sleep quality score. I noticed they are currently running a limited 69% discount, but I don't know how long it will last. It's currently only $60, and it's clear this one is the best bang for your buck, with other health rings priced around $350 with less functions. They managed to price it this low because they cut out the middleman like Amazon, Walmart, etc., who drive up the price and take a big margin, ending up with the customer paying 3 to 5 times more. If you are on TV, you can check it out yourself by pausing the video and scanning the QR code with your phone camera or clicking the first link in the description of this video. Detroit built cars. Local mechanics kept them running. Everyone made money. But then Washington decided cars needed to stop poisoning the air. Then, 1975 hit like a sledgehammer. The Clean Air Act forced every new car to have a catalytic converter. Sounds simple enough, right? Just bolt on a new part and move on. Not even close. To make those converters work, engineers crammed emission control systems into every inch of the engine bay. A 1970 Chevy had maybe 8 vacuum hoses. By 1977, 40-plus hoses snaking around like spaghetti someone threw at the wall. And here's what really stung. These systems added 15 to 20 components that could fail in ways mechanics had literally never seen before. You couldn't just listen to an engine and know what was wrong anymore. The old instincts? Suddenly useless. Veteran mechanics who'd been wrenching for 30 years faced a brutal choice: learn an entirely new diagnostic language overnight, or walk away. Many walked. Guys in their 50s who could rebuild a transmission, blindfolded, just retired early. This was the first mass exodus from the trade, and nobody saw it coming. Shops that refused to buy smog testing equipment? They lost 30% of their customers within 2 years. The simple tune-up that took 30 minutes in 1972 became a 90-minute diagnostic puzzle by 1978. But vacuum hoses were nothing compared to what rolled into showrooms next. 1980, the year everything changed. General Motors dropped a computer into the Cadillac engine bay, and mechanics everywhere felt a chill they couldn't explain yet. These weren't simple circuits. They were actual microprocessors controlling fuel mixture, timing, and emissions. And here's the kicker. When something went wrong, the computer spoke in codes. Proprietary codes. Codes that only GM's $15,000 diagnostic machines could translate. Your local mechanic? He might as well have been reading hieroglyphics. But that was just the beginning. By 1988, fuel injection had killed the carburetor. 99% of new cars rolled off assembly lines without one. Think about that. A skill mechanics had perfected over 50 years became worthless in under a decade. I remember old-timers talking about this like it was a death in the family. And honestly, it kind of was. Independent shops faced an ugly choice: spend $30,000 on diagnostic equipment, money most didn't have, or watch helplessly as customers drove past them straight to the dealership. The carburetor rebuild that once earned a mechanic $200? Gone. Replaced by fuel injector swaps that barely paid $50 in parts markup. Worse still, the knowledge gap kept widening. Technology moved faster than any training program could keep up. And then came the franchises. They smelled blood in the water. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Midas, Meineke, and Jiffy Lube didn't just open shops in the 1980s. They colonized the entire industry. These franchises took skilled mechanics and turned them into oil change robots. 15 minutes in, 15 minutes out. Next customer. And the pay? Brutal. Franchise mechanics earned $8 to $12 an hour, while customers got billed $60 plus. Where'd the difference go? Straight into franchise owner pockets. We're talking 70% of labor revenue that used to belong to the guy actually doing the work. My uncle called it the Great Mechanic Robbery. He wasn't wrong. In 1975, an independent shop owner brought home around $65,000 annually. Solid middle-class money. By 1995, franchise mechanics averaged $24,000. That's not a pay cut. That's a professional execution. But wait, it gets worse. These chains had $50 million advertising budgets. $50 million. Your local shop had a Yellow Pages ad and a sign out front. Good luck competing with that. And here's the subtle knife twist. Mechanics became technicians. Sounds fancy, right? Nope. It was corporate code for, you follow our procedures now. Less autonomy, less craftsmanship, less respect. The franchises crushed the little guys. But dealers? They were sharpening their knives, too. Here's the thing dealerships figured out that nobody talks about. They stopped competing with independent mechanics. They just locked them out instead. Starting in the late 90s, automakers began requiring proprietary software updates that only authorized dealerships could perform. Not because the updates were complicated, because they controlled who got access. Your local mechanic could diagnose the problem, have the skills to fix it, and still be completely helpless. The car's computer simply wouldn't accept the repair without a dealer handshake. A 1998 study found dealerships charged 35% more per hour than independents for identical work. Same repair, same parts, different price tag, and customers paid it because they had no choice. Then manufacturers got clever with warranty language. Use an independent mechanic? Warranty voided. Even though that was technically illegal, most customers didn't know. The scare tactic worked beautifully. Dealer service departments transformed overnight. They went from loss leaders designed to sell cars into profit machines, generating 40 to 60% of total dealership income. Training shifted too. Manufacturer academies replaced local apprenticeships. But here's the catch. These programs required weeks of unpaid attendance. What working mechanic could afford that? By 2000, dealers had recaptured 65% of repair work they'd lost to independents decades earlier, and mechanics who refused to adapt. They had one last fight coming, one they'd eventually lose. Massachusetts finally drew a line in the sand. In 2012, voters passed the first right to repair law in America. Mechanics cheered. Finally, someone was fighting back. But here's where it gets infuriating. Automakers found loopholes faster than lawyers find billable hours. They made diagnostic data technically available. Sure, you can access it. Just pay $3,000 a year in subscriptions, per manufacturer. Want to work on Fords, Chevys, and Toyotas? That's $9,000 annually before you fix a single car. Tesla took things further, way further. Their vehicles will literally disable themselves if someone attempts unauthorized repairs. Try replacing a battery without Tesla's blessing. The car throws a tantrum and refuses to work. And John Deere? Those tractor guys became the poster child for this whole mess. Farmers who'd fixed their own equipment for generations suddenly needed dealer permission to change a software setting. A 2020 survey revealed something depressing. 78% of independent shops couldn't fully access repair data for vehicles built after 2015. Let that sink in. Mechanics went from fixing everything to being legally locked out of modern cars. Some adapted by focusing exclusively on older vehicles. Others just gave up. The legislation meant to save independent repair. It barely made a dent. And the financial reality waiting for these mechanics was somehow even bleaker. Here's the math that makes mechanics quit. The median hourly wage in 2023? $23.50. That's barely more than warehouse workers who need zero training. Zero. A fully certified ASE master technician, someone with 8 certifications proving they can fix literally anything, earns roughly what skilled mechanics made in 1985. Adjusted for inflation, they've gone backwards. But wait, it gets worse. Before earning a single dollar, a new mechanic must spend $25,000 to $50,000 on personal tools. That's not a typo. You buy your own wrenches, your own scanners, your own everything. The shop provides the lift. Maybe. Then there's flat rate pay. This lovely system means mechanics only earn money while physically turning wrenches. Diagnostic time? Often unpaid. Training? Your own time. Waiting for parts? Enjoy your coffee, but not your paycheck. Shop labor rates have climbed to $150 per hour. Sounds great until you realize mechanics receive $18 to $25 of that. The rest? Overhead, profit, franchise fees, whatever excuse management invents. The average mechanic leaves after just 5 years. 5 years of destroyed knuckles and chemical exposure, then they're gone. Usually to HVAC or plumbing, and somehow, despite this revolving door of talent, wages still don't rise. What happens to a profession nobody wants to enter anymore? So where does that leave us? Only 35% of auto technicians work at independent shops today. Back in 1980, 70%. The neighborhood garage didn't just shrink. It nearly vanished. And here's the kicker that nobody wants to talk about. Electric vehicles need 30% fewer repairs than gas cars. Fewer brakes wearing out because of regenerative braking. No oil changes, no transmission rebuilds. By 2035, another massive wave of mechanic jobs could simply evaporate. But some clever wrenchers found an escape hatch. They pivoted to restoring classic cars. Turns out, their outdated skills now command over $100 an hour. The old knowledge became rare. Rare became valuable. Funny how that works. Then there's the gig economy version. Apps like Your Mechanic turned repair work into Uber-style hustling. No benefits. Unpredictable income. You're your own boss. Except you're really not. The average working mechanic today is 45 years old. Young people looked at the math and said, "No thanks." Can you blame them? A profession that once bought houses and raised families now requires side hustles, constant certifications, and perpetual debt just to stay afloat. The car doctor became a gig worker with a toolbox worth more than their savings account. And honestly, that might be the saddest part of this whole story.